good morning, everybody. We are really testing for the video. We weren't testing. We know we're not on microphones for this room. So we'll speak loudly so hopefully you can hear us. Thank you for being with us. My name is Mayor Cal Sheehy, and I'm joined by...
Good morning. I'm Jess Knutson, City Manager, Lake Havasu City.
And today we're in the Public Works facility at 900 London Bridge Road. And we have Greg Frosley, our Public Works Director, and he's going to welcome us and tell us a little bit about this facility. And you have to stand kind of close to me so you have a microphone.
This is that awkward part you're
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Thanks everybody for coming this morning. This is the Public Works Maintenance Facility. Public Works is one of our largest departments we have. It consists of about 130 hardworking men and women. We provide a wide breadth of services. This facility has approximately 100 people out of that 130 working here. This facility alone provides for a lot of our water maintenance folks are housed here. We've got our maintenance services, which is street maintenance and facilities. For instance, last night at Fright Night, all our guys that work here provided all the traffic control to close down McCulloch and picked it all up first thing this morning. We also have vehicle maintenance. If you can believe it, we have a fleet that consists of over 400 pieces of equipment, including trucks, police cars, fire trucks, lawnmowers, and we have a boat, a weed harvester that we put on the lake, a converted pontoon. All of that is maintained out of our vehicle maintenance bays right here on site. We also have part of Public Works is our transit system, which is in a building just behind you. And we also have office space for our MPO, which is not part of Public Works, but they share office space over there. So if you were here at 6 o'clock this morning, you would have seen, 50 pickups leaving the yard. There's a big empty parking lot behind us that is jam-packed full of vehicles during the day, or during the nighttime when nobody's working. We have arranged for a tour. Assistant Public Works Director Mark Clark is going to be available to take anybody on a tour if they want to see the bays. We also have a sign shop. We do our own street striping. So there's a lot of activity right here, and it's actually pretty impressive. So please take Mark up on the tour afterwards if you can. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Greg.
Sure.
All right, so we'll get right into it. We'll talk about, just for the format for folks that are new to this forum, we'll talk about some of the hot topics that are happening in Lake Havasu City, and then we'll open it up to any questions that you may have regarding some things. So since the last time we met, we have had some movement on the short-term rental issue. We have a lot of our citizens that are struggling with short-term rentals in their neighborhoods. It's causing some nuisance issues, litter, traffic, noise. And then we also have folks that own short-term rentals and want to still have the enjoyment to do so. And so we're trying to find a balance on how do we manage that appropriately. In 2016, the City Council adopted an ordinance that worked really, really well. It accomplished both goals of making sure our neighborhoods were protected and neighbors were protected, and also that owners of real property had the opportunity to rent out a room, a casita, or the home if they so desired. And it worked very well until the state legislature passed a bill that limited that ability for cities and towns to be able to monitor that or regulate that on a local level. And so we've been struggling ever since. We did get a little bit of relief, and I stress a little bit of relief, during this last legislative session where the legislature worked together with the governor's office, and they were able to sign a bill that allows just a little bit of management. So we are working on an ordinance that we'll be seeing actually really soon, I think November 12th meeting.
12th.
Yeah, November 12th, it'll come before the council, and we'll be able to adopt an ordinance that allows us to take the provisions of the state law into account and be able to start managing our neighborhoods again. But it's very limited in the scope. So we've been working with the legislature and the governor's office to allow more opportunities. And really what we're advocating from the perspective of Lake Havasu City is local control. What's going to work here in Lake Havasu City in a community that enjoys winter visitors and also enjoys summer visitors with different type of vehicles, depending on the season in which they're coming, might not be the same as like a Scottsdale or a Tucson or a Sedona. So we want to be able to have and understand that maybe an overarching state law giving authority back to cities and towns to manage that might be the most appropriate way to help deal with that. We and our colleagues in other cities and towns agree with that approach. The folks at the legislature don't necessarily agree with that approach, or the governor's office. So we are working with them to do that. I had the opportunity this last week on Wednesday to go down to an ad hoc committee that was set up by Senate President Karen Fann and Speaker of the House Rusty Bowers. And it had members of the Arizona legislature that were addressing these types of issues. The particular topic on Wednesday was nuisances, so litter, traffic, those types of issues. It'll be 3 hearings. We'll go concurrently. The next topic they'll talk about will be taxing, regulation, and maybe controls on the number of units. And then the third meeting of that committee will talk about possible solutions that they could take to the legislature for the next legislative session. So I had the opportunity to join the League of Cities and Towns and testify on behalf of Lake Havasu City and some of the experiences that our neighbors are having when it comes to nuisances. So noise and traffic and again, litter. And a lot of the things, a lot of communities are dealing with party homes, which are event venues, which the new state law now prohibits, so that'll go away. There was a lot of folks in Scottsdale and Paradise Valley and some of those areas that have very large homes that were turning into event venues. So they were having weddings there and reunions and those types of things. So you imagine you have 200 cars come into your neighborhood every Saturday for some sort of wedding or event, and then they all leave. Lake Havasu City didn't necessarily have that issue, but our noise issues are just a little bit different. In our vast desert expanses, you can have a conversation just at normal levels, sitting on your back patio at 11 or 12 at night. If you're on vacation, that's not late. If you live here, that's kind of late. We got to get to bed and do stuff in the morning. So, but just that voice traveling at again normal temperature or normal levels. And also maybe kids splashing in the pool and just normal things that people do are causing the nuisance for our neighbors. Now, when they're your neighbor and they live there every day, you have a relationship with them. So you can talk with them in the morning about any concerns you had. You can mad dog them in the morning if you wanted to, but it's the same person each time. So it's different in the short-term rental market where it's a different person every day. So we're working to be able to have local control to be able to address that. And again, on November 12th, we'll have the first ordinance that Jess and his team have drafted. If you want to talk a little bit about some of the components in that.
Yeah, I think building on some of that conversation, Mayor, is that we had an ordinance in place for the city that was working, and then some of those measures and some of those tools and some of the teeth the city had to kind of control those things and really promote good neighbors. That went away when the legislation passed about 4 years ago and basically said that the cities can't regulate, keep your hands off, let vacation rentals be vacation rentals. And so that perspective, we've been dealing since then as a city with addressing the noise and the trash and those things. But then what happens is our police or others go out there to address noise and complaints that occur, and then our PD is then responding and talking to the tenants. So and then they may be addressing that situation at that time. Things get out of hand, maybe there's a fine that gets put in place. But the next weekend, it's a new set of folks that then come to that same location, and it's a continuous cycle that can't be broken. So some of the legislation that was passed this last year provides a little bit of authority for the cities to take a look at this a little bit differently. We can now start to hold, to a certain degree, the homeowners, the property owners accountable for the tenants that they put into their vacation rentals. And again, as the mayor indicated, we love vacation rentals. We're talking about the small slice of the situation where there's a continuous problem tenants that keep renting that same spot. And maybe that's because of the advertisement that they're advertising for. Maybe they have an 1,800 or 2,000 square foot home, and they're advertising to, hey, bring 20 plus people to your to rent this out, and so what's that's going to do? You fit 3, 4, 5 people into a bedroom, you pack it full. That's going to cause lots of noise, and it's going to have lots of concerns for the neighbors. So that some fines will be put in place per the statute that now allows the city to do this. So, and those fines go directly to the owner of the property and not the tenant. Now that owner can then ask for maybe a deposit that goes back so that they hold the tenant responsible for those situations. But that those fines increase. They start off at $500. Second one, I believe, is $1,000. And then that third fine, if it takes place within a 12-month period, is half of the gross monthly income for that particular property. So that third fine is a pretty hefty one if problems continue and there's a pattern that exists over the course of 12 months. So alluded to the fact that no more events, so weddings, things like that, more of a concern in other communities. And then if you are advertising for a short-term rental, then you need to go through a process with the Department of Revenue through the state. You get a number. You have to post that number on each of your advertisements. So, but it's going to leave it up to the city to make sure that gets enforced. So there's a lot of work that's going to be done on the back end just to make sure that all the different advertisements and all those things are done the way they should be done, and we're all doing it the way that it has to be done in order to address this to a certain extent. But local control, if we could get that back from the state and allow us to manage some of these things from a perspective that helps Havasu. We know Havasu, right? And we're much different than Paradise Valley or Scottsdale or Bisbee or Jerome, those communities. So hopefully that's the next step.
Yes, but we're working on it. So we'll keep you posted as we make progress in that direction. But we did have a good piece of news that the governor, when he signed the bill that went into effect now, he basically wrote, like, let's be done with this. Like, don't come back every session and try and get more. But he conceded on that. So he understands. He's been talking with mayors and council members throughout the state of Arizona, as well as citizens, and he understands that this continues to be an issue. And so he's willing to come back to the table, which is very positive for us to have him at the table with us. So again, we'll keep you updated on that. We are continuing with the deconsolidation of the court. We've mentioned this a few times, but the deconsolidation happened as of August 31st. What does that mean for you? It doesn't really mean a lot right now because we just deconsolidated right in place. So basically we had a consolidated court system, which means we had shared services with the Superior Court, the Justice Court, and the Municipal Court. Lake Havasu City is responsible for the Municipal Court, and now we deconsolidated in place, meaning we're on our own, and now we're basically a tenant of that facility paying rent, all with the goal of finding more space. There's not enough space out at that courthouse as our population increases and the court loads increase as well. And we need to find space for all of the courts. And so we've looked at a variety of different things, such as expanding that facility where it's at now, which is a county facility, or also looking at bringing it up to City Hall complex. The master plan of that Civic Center complex always included a court facility of some sort. And so we're looking at doing that. So you'll see discussions from the council level and staff level that's moving in that direction. You also get to join us next month because the courts are going to host us, and you'll see what we're talking about when it comes to the size constraints and the issues that we have out there. So we are working hard to make sure that there are no impacts to the citizens, but with anything that's new and with change, there might be some things. So bear with us and be patient, but let us know if there's any glaring issue in this deconsolidation process as it impacts citizens of our community. Because obviously service delivery is the first and foremost thing that we do as a city. So if we are impacting you at all, just let us know. But the conversation continuing will be building a courthouse facility or finding an alternative location, ideally with keeping obviously the best interest of the taxpayers and the long-term investment in our community at the forefront of our minds. So you'll see some adjustments in our capital improvement plan, our CIP budget, which already has a court facility in there in our 5-year plan, but we'll be reprioritizing where that fits in based on these new time constraints we have because we're busting at the seams out at the court. Do you have any additional comments on that?
No, I think that sums it up. I think we talked about consolidated courts and deconsolidation. Previously, we had a one court facility where the county would basically cut a check to the city, and then out of that court, we would maintain the county and the city. The court issues that would occur on that area. Now that it's deconsolidated, we have two different functions. The county takes care of the county process, and the city takes care of the municipal court process. So that's what we're speaking of there. And then as we grow, we're going to have more space.
Excellent. The next topic we want to talk about is the Riviera. The Lake Havasu City Council and city staff, department heads had the opportunity this week to tour out at the Riviera site. It's amazing when you see the plans on paper, or it's been probably 6 months since I'd been out there, and it's amazing. So there's a lot of things happening. Even though there's barricades there on the highway, there's lots of stuff going on, a lot of dirt work, a lot of groundwork that's happening at the Riviera site. As many of you know, we ran into some delays when the state park director, former state parks director, was let go by the governor's office and a new state parks director came on board. We were able to work through all of those challenges. All of those agreements were signed in August, allowing the private developer to be able to proceed with what it is they're doing. As a reminder, this is a public-private partnership. Public being Lake Havasu City is one of the partners. The second partner is Arizona State Parks, and then Comac Enterprises is the private developer. Lake Havasu City's responsibilities of that agreement are done. That was putting in the roadway and the stoplight, and some sewer infrastructure. We've done all of those things on our side of the agreement. Now that the state of Arizona and the Comex were able to come to their final agreement and sign their documents in August, the other two partners are now coming and they're finishing their obligations to that area. So we anticipate the stoplight that currently has bags over it on Highway 95 to be operable with power first quarter of 2020, somewhere in that area. And once that once the traffic lights open, then the roadway would open, and the intent would be sometime in 2020 to have the launch facility open under a concession agreement with the state parks run by the concessionaire. So things are moving and progressing along. That then would pave the way for home sites to be sold, and they're working on all of those components as we speak. But millions of dollars of groundwork is happening out there right now to ready those lots for sale and for the public's use when that all happens. So although it appears not a lot's happening, there is a lot of activity. I was surprised by the number of heavy machines that were actually operating and working, full crews that are working in different aspects of this facility. And the public will be able to start seeing these results first quarter, second quarter of 2020. At this time, I want to introduce a few elected officials that are in the room. We have Vice Mayor David Lane is joining us today. Welcome. We have Council Member Jenny Koch in the back. Welcome. And then we have Mojave Community College Governing Board Member Ashley Pasquale in the back as well. Welcome. And Councilmember McCoy, I was just looking at her a minute ago. Councilmember McCoy is here as well. Thank you. And then we will be having Senator Borelli and Representative Biasucci joining us in a few minutes as well, and they'll give you a few minutes on issues of state importance. So now that we've introduced Vice Mayor Lane, we're going to turn it over to him to talk to us about the Kiowa Road project update. If you could stand close to Jess or me and give us an update.
I have to pretend like I like you. Morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Kiowa Avenue project. If any of you drive on Highway 95, you see what's going on right there. Basically, we're right in front of Hobby Lobby, Food City, that area. As you know, as a background, there used to be a Bob's Big Boy there, and then there was a Chinese restaurant there, a buffet, and then all that was torn out and they put in Starbucks. And since they put in that Starbucks right there on Highway 95, people pulling in and out, we've had over 30 traffic collisions from people turning in and out of those driveways. And major accidents, some of them are minor accidents, unless you were the one involved in it, of course, and then it was a major accident because you probably still have back pain and everything else. So this project is to put in some medians along there to limit the left-hand turns from Highway 95 into the parking lot and also from the parking lot out onto 95, because those right-of-way violations are where the traffic collisions are happening. So what you're seeing out there now is the medians are in. There's some right turn lanes, some deceleration lanes as you're coming southbound to be able to turn into the parking lot. And there's going to be a right-hand turn lane onto Kiowa Avenue and some signal light work there. So you probably have read that there's been some delays on that project. And there's two reasons for the delays. One is the equipment that ADOT ordered. Basically, you can say it's been on back order. They're having a hard time getting some of the equipment. The other reason is a change in scope. We've changed some of the ways we're doing it. We've talked about this is the first phase. The second phase will be a signal light in front of Staples. So what we are doing now, or what they are doing, they actually have listened to us in the city. They were going to put in a fourth driveway, because as you know, there's 3 driveways there now. One by the Circle K, one by the Starbucks, one by the new Verizon store. They were going to put a fourth one in right by the Staples Center, or the Staples store. Well, they've actually listened to the city, and they said, why do that? There's already a driveway there right by the Verizon. We can probably save a whole ton of money and just use that driveway and put the signal light in there. And they say, oh, we can't do that. That'll put that signal light too close to the Kiowa signal light. So then we pointed out the fact to ADOT that if you go between Tacoma and Industrial, that's an even shorter distance. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. So, yeah, we can save a whole bunch of money if we put the signal light in there. So as part of this phase, which was going to be the next phase, they're putting in a deceleration right-hand turn lane right there by the Verizon. So that's part of the delay right there. So, and then the next phase, of course, will be the signal light, which ADOT still doesn't have the funding for, but through the city MPO, we believe that we can fund that signal light, and then ADOT will reimburse us for that project. They can't do it monetarily, but they can do it by doing another project for us somewhere in the city. And as soon as we have that in writing, then we may move forward with that phase of the project. Dave?
Yeah, my question to you is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but 1,000 feet for repaving past Kiowa, they're not going to pave that one section?
Well, here's the deal. Originally, in their scope, they were not going to repave Kiowa at all, or repave Highway 95 at all. But we have talked them into that. 1,000 feet actually takes them down past that driveway. So they should, yeah, the repaving, they're going to do a micro sealing type of repaving, and then there's going to be other pavement where the right-hand turn lanes are and all that. So we are getting some concessions from them, and they are going to be repaving part of it.
Past south of Kiowa. I'm talking about past
Oh,
the
south of Kiowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of the teeth chattering area in that neighborhood, or in that kind of section, gone. Yeah, it's going to be repaved. So yeah, we've been assured of that. So all of that area that's kind of bad, like heading towards
that whole
Tacoma,
section is all
terrible. Yes.
Yeah. Where your car bounces up and down?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's getting fixed. Yeah, that's getting fixed as part of this process.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is part of this project. And the reason we want to put the signal light in there, he's talking over here, I'm going to go stand on this microphone now. I don't like you anymore.
I knew I'd win. Yeah. It's just a matter of time. Yeah.
How many of you here go on the city website? You got to go on the city website, because yesterday this was Captain America and that was Captain Obvious. There is a picture of them on the city website, and I have to say I was kind of impressed.
Yeah.
So I didn't wear my Superman costume.
That's because I had the world saved by 2 o'clock. I was back like this. We didn't need Superman. Yeah.
Anyway, the reason we want to put that signal light in so people can turn left out of the parking lot and onto the highway. If you think about this, if you're in that parking lot and you want to go north, going up towards out of town, if there's no way to turn left, we've basically just taken the problem from Highway 95 and put it over in front of the furniture store on Kiowa, because that will be the only way to turn out. And we're not going to let ADOT fix their problem by creating a bigger problem for the city. So we're working with them really, really diligently to make sure that it's safe for everybody to be able to access that shopping center and not have to worry about getting creamed. So,
Perfect.
right?
All right. Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. All right.
Maybe a quick
Yes.
a quick note. There's maybe some folks that are here for the tour. Imagine a Day Without Water tour. If that starts at 9:15, so if you are here for that, we encourage you to stay here. But if you are here for the tour, that takes off at 9:15 in the lobby. So there was some confusion this morning with a lot of things happening here. Okay.
Excellent. All right. Do you want to talk a little bit about the pickleball courts?
Sure. Yeah. We talked earlier about the CIP, or the Capital Improvement Plan. That's the city's budget that identifies one-time expenditures or one-time costs, parks, fire engines, court facilities, things of that nature. In this year's CIP, One of the projects is 8 new pickleball courts up at Dixant Park, and we've started that design in that location, and we're a few months into that design, and before too long we'll have a finished completed design, and then we take that completed design, we go for bid, we talk to the construction guys and ask for their cost tied to that plan, and hopefully we can maybe start construction first quarter. If all things go well, and they always do, be first quarter of next year. So this is a project that has to come in under budget, and when we go out for the bids, so it's always kind of a tense time in terms of trying to hope that our budget matches up with what the bids come back in. Yeah, yes, sir. You have a question?
Will you be adding parking to that?
Yes, thank you. So that project includes not just the 8 new pickleball courts, but we're going through that design phase right now to make sure that we're addressing the needs of the users for the pickleball, but we're also addressing the needs of that park as a whole. So that the cost and that design also includes increased parking and increased access through that park, so people can get to where they want to go if they're there for a ball game or for pickleball. We're trying to maximize the enjoyment for that area through this process right now.
What's the name of that park again?
Dixant Park.
Is it up between Cherry
On the north
Tree and
side?
McCulloch up there?
No, it's on the north side off of Avalon. It's Avalon and Kiowa, kind of in that neighborhood. There's a Little League field there, and that Little League field currently the parking that we have for that park for Little League and the pickleball users is not enough. It's really, really bad. And so we've last year, to help mitigate citizens' concerns, we opened up a gate for a dirt lot there. Still not enough. So regardless of the pickleball, we still needed to add parking facilities just to accommodate the Little League players that go out there on a regular basis. So now this will be able to solve 2 purposes. And we also were able, the Pickleball Association has donated $100,000 towards this project for the pickleball court side of it. So yes, $100,000 they put towards it. So we love those types of partnerships where citizens are engaged in the process and they're engaged in what it is they want to see for their recreation, and we stand ready to assist at any time for those types of partnerships. So we're really excited to be able to get that to move forward. We would like to thank the Mojave County Board of Supervisors. They voted to rotate their meetings on a quarterly basis. So we were host to them 2 weeks ago here in Lake Havasu City at our council chambers, and we had a packed room. I was so glad to see that, so that we could show the Mojave County Board of Supervisors that we do care about county business, and we thank them for moving about the county on a regular basis. The next place they're going is to Bullhead City, and then of course they meet regularly at their home chambers in Kingman. But we thank the Board of Supervisors for joining us and allowing Lake Havasu City citizens to engage in the county business without having to drive all the way to Kingman to attend those meetings. We have an upcoming council agenda about the impacts the water master plan, if you want to go over that.
So yeah, we talked about vacation rentals. That ordinance is going to go before council on November 12th, which is our next regularly scheduled council meeting. And also on that same agenda, we're going to be updating the council and the public about some different approaches that we're going to take moving forward in terms of our water supply. So right now we have predominantly we collect the water we collect as a city that distributes to the residents that we all enjoy. That main collector is over at London Bridge Beach Park. And then that water gets transported over to our water treatment facility, and then is treated and cleaned and make sure the quality is perfect. And then that water then is distributed to our homes and our businesses. We're trying to identify a few different efforts to make sure that we have as many backup and redundant systems in place, so that all those things that we take for granted we will continue to take for granted, and rightfully so. So we're going to be testing some new some well sites and exercising some old existing wells, doing some exploratory drilling, doing some testing to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. And as part of that process, we'd be able to identify redundancy in our system, which is obviously very, very important. So we'll have some of those topics. It's about a 2-year project that we're identified for that. For those new well sites and the testing of those sites to make sure it's safe. And we'll start that off on November 12th with a contract that'll go before council for a little over $700,000 as that first phase. So that's big money in terms of drilling and wells and distribution systems. But obviously, it's something that is a top priority for the city to make sure that we're in good standing. So it's kind of an update to let you know that something's coming up on the agenda. But also, as we sit here in the Public Works facility, it's an update to let the public know we work very, very hard behind the scenes, and we have a lot of great gals and guys that work very hard to make sure that our water systems are in place because that's what we expect, and that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, one of the ways that we engage with citizens is the Day Without Water, or Imagine a Day Without Water tours, which just mentioned one is happening today. I had the ability to take one of those tours a couple of weeks ago, and it's amazing to see where and how the water happens. So how do we get fresh water? How do we get it to the homes? What the distribution system looks like? How do we clean what goes down the drain and flush down the toilet? And what we do with all of those types of things. So our staff is so dedicated to it and such professionals in what we're doing, but we want to make sure we have water resources for many years to come and to protect the citizens of our community. We also have been able to work with Arizona State Parks we've identified that some sites maybe on some of their property might provide a good secondary source of water if necessary, and so we have some exploratory well opportunities out there. So as Jess mentioned, checking the soils and boring down and just identifying for the water future of Lake Havasu City. So not tomorrow, but we need to start today so that we continue to have good natural resources into the future. And so we're continuing to work on that. But we thank the state park folks that have worked really hard and diligently to be able to see that to the finish line for us as well. You want to talk about the census?
Sure.
All right.
So it's our monthly reminder at the coffee to talk about the importance of census, and I think it's extremely important in Havasu. We talked earlier about vacation rentals. We have a lot of properties in town that the census considers vacant because they're not. We don't have year-round tenants or year-round property owners that live in there. We have a lot of different seasonal residents that come to Lake Havasu City. So we have a whole lot of population that moves around within the city, right? We're a tourist town, and that makes a lot of sense. But we need to find a way to get the word out, talk to our neighbors and so forth about why the census is important. And why it's important is because everybody in this room pays taxes, and we pay taxes in Lake Havasu City. We pay gas tax. We register our vehicles. We pay a fee there. We pay income tax to the state, and we pay a sales tax to the state. So all those dollars that we pay in those four categories, all that money gets sent over to the state. They take a big chunk off of that and use it to provide statewide services. And then the chunk of dollars is left over that gets distributed back to the counties and the cities. And that chunk of money that gets sent back to the counties and cities is dependent upon the census count. So in Havasu and throughout the state, based on populations of counties and so forth, the number fluctuates every year. But right now, the latest numbers is about $400 per person per year. So if you start thinking about that, if we are undercount in the census upcoming by 1,000 people, or 1,000 people that are our residents that should be counted because they're using the services of police, fire, roads, those types of things, aren't counted, times 400 and then times 10. That's $4 million that the city does not have to provide the same level of services. And again, these are taxpayer dollars that we paid into the system. We need those dollars to come back and help pay for our roads and police, fire, and parks and all the other services that we want to enjoy here in Havasu. So that's the big thing that's always on my mind in terms of budgets and those types of things. But the census is also important with redistricting congressional districts. So population through the census identified, and then all these districts for Congress are maneuvered, and we want to be represented, right, as much as we can in D.C. So that's a way that we can benefit from that as well too. And then lastly, is that if we're looking at, we hear quite a bit, and some things are 99% out of our control, but there's some things that are in our control in terms of trying to attract maybe a certain restaurants or retail or those types of things to Havasu. The first thing that these folks look at in where do I put my new restaurant is what's your demographics. How many people do you have in Lake Havasu City, and more specifically, how many people do you have within a certain radius of the location that I'm thinking about putting my restaurant. So if we have those numbers and we have those demographics, we can say, hey, we got it, come to Havasu and then open your restaurant, open up your retail shop. So those are, attraction for economic development. Business is also vitally important for the census. So that's why.
There's also a lot of our nonprofit community relies on grants.
Thank you.
Those types of grants are identified through census data. So they're either allocated to our region based on census data, or they use census data for those social service agencies to be able to be beneficiaries of those grant dollars. So that's another reason why the census is so important. Last week I traveled to Prescott for Greater Arizona Mayors Association meeting, where we mayors from across the greater part of Arizona meet and discuss issues. Basically, it's rural mayors, I would call it. And we had the opportunity to speak with Debbie Johnson, who is the director of the Arizona Office of Tourism. But Governor Ducey also appointed her to the Complete Count Census Committee chairperson for the state of Arizona. So the state of Arizona is focused on that. We then have the county is working on it, and then each of our individual cities are talking about it. And we want to just make sure that we engage our citizens so that you can talk to your friends and your neighbors and let everybody know the importance of counting. One of the differences this year is, for the first time, the census primarily is going to be online. And so that's a big change from the last census of 2010 and all of the censuses prior to that. So we are working on strategies to ensure that people that might not have access to technology or might not be savvy enough on technology to be able to connect. Now, just because you don't have a computer or might not connect online doesn't mean you're not going to get counted. They're coming to knock on your door just a little bit later than they would have before. So, but just get the word out and be counted. On the short-term rental conversation, a lot of communities that their home inventory is converted to short-term rentals, they're very, very nervous because now there's not an occupant in that home to be counted, which is going to impact revenues to that city. So as Jess said, all of the tax dollars are already paid across the state of Arizona. They're getting redistributed. It's just they're getting redistributed to the places where people live. So, there's communities that have tons of tourism and short-term rentals, but people aren't living there, so they're not going to get their money. And Lake Havasu City falls into that same category with that. So let us know. They're also looking for workers. So if you want a part-time job, the census is hiring. They need some people, and they really do prefer to have local residents counting their local neighbors. So if you know of anyone that would like a part-time gig, they can just search the U.S. Census and sign up, and hopefully you'll be out there knocking on doors or helping the U.S. Census and get the count correct here in Lake Havasu City. We have a couple of events that are coming up. We have an Arizona Town Hall will be here tomorrow here in Lake Havasu City. They're going to be at Mojave Community College, and it's going to be a town hall focused on strong families and thriving children. Again, that's tomorrow, November 2nd. It is free. It starts at 8:30, and Ashley has flyers in the back, so if you want to grab one and have interest. It is free again. There will be pastries and stuff in the morning. 3 hours of session talking on that topic. Arizona Town Hall is moving around the state of Arizona to have these discussions at the local levels. We are having the Mojave County one here tomorrow, so it's representative of all of Mojave County. It's sponsored in part by locally, it's Arizona Town Halls, Mojave Community College, and the Lake Havasu Hospitality Association are funding partners to help make sure that our voices are heard. If you've not attended a town hall experience before, I do it tomorrow because it is a very amazing process in which you sit at tables, round tables, you have discussions, and literally in 3 hours they're able to have a report back out to the group that's there based on a consensus of what that entire room is saying. Shocking. Like the first time someone told me that was going to happen, and I was like, oh yeah. I went to it and I saw it actually happen. I could not even believe it. So, it's a volunteer-based organization. These are professionals from across the state of Arizona that are volunteer to do this and come up to our communities so that we can contribute to the statewide conversation that eventually leads to policy changes or policy direction at the state level. I am fortunate enough to sit on the board for Arizona Town Hall. We also have another local resident, Danny Pirtle, who's a professor at ASU, sits on the board as well. So we have good representation at Arizona Town Hall organization, but we need input from Mojave County and our region so that we're being heard on what type of policy discussions will go forward. So again, Ashley has the flyers, and you can pick one up afterwards, and we'd love to see you tomorrow morning at Mojave Community College in the 600 building, so the main parking lot, the big building out front. So if you don't want to go to the town hall, but you still want to do something tomorrow, there is the Dementia Connection is having a dementia walk tomorrow at Rotary Park. It is November is Dementia Month, Dementia Awareness Month, and we obviously would like to share in their cause to make sure that our citizens and families that are impacted by dementia or Alzheimer's know of resources and are helping to move that forward. So that's at 10 o'clock. They recommend you get to Rotary Park around 9:30. You can sign up the day of. If you're going to sign up the day of, try to get there on the front end of that time frame, like around 9. They'll sign you up and get you all situated, and then they'll be walking around the Rotary Park area, again to bring awareness to the issue of dementia and Alzheimer's within our community. A couple of updates of what our federal delegation is doing for us. Congressman Gosar has been busy working for things in our area. He recently has named through House Bill 3314, it was passed the Lake Havasu City Combat Veterans Memorial Post Office. So our federal delegation is able to name post offices. They're federal, and Lake Havasu City didn't have an official name for its post office other than the post office, and so he introduced a bill, and it was passed unanimously. And now the Lake Havasu City Post Office branch is now called the Lake Havasu City Combat Veterans Memorial Post Office. Congressman Gosar and his office will do an official ribbon cutting announcing this, but I think it's a cool thing that Congressman Gosar was thinking of us and looked into that and was able to actually get that passed. So when they're out of session and he's able to be back on the road again, his office will schedule something to do that. But I think that's a nice tribute to certainly Lake Havasu City is a very veteran-friendly community, and we have a lot of veterans, and our combat veterans are very important as well. So I'm proud that we have that post office here in our community. Senator McSally has also been working on behalf of veterans within our area. Many of you know we have an award-winning Veterans Treatment Court here in Lake Havasu City that does amazing work for folks that are in that system. And Senator McSally is introducing the Veterans Treatment Court Coordination Act of 2019. When Lake Havasu City set off to do this with the Veterans Treatment Court, it was fairly new and it was uncharted territory. And former Mayor Mark Nexon and Magistrate Mitch Kalali and City Manager Charlie Cassens at the time worked kind of in this uncharted territory of how do we do this, and engaged our amazing citizens in Lake Havasu City and put together an award-winning Veteran Treatment Court in a really short amount of time. But what the secret sauce is to our treatment court is all of the volunteers and the citizens of Lake Havasu City that give so much to that. So it's all volunteer based on the treatment side of things, of coordination. And Senator McSally saw that and saw how that engagement really made our court so successful, where we're a shining example in DC for these types of models. And she's now introduced this act, and we're really excited because what this is going to do is it's going to save other communities from having to go through those initial fumbling steps that we had to go through, and basically have a standard of best practices, if you will, for standards to start treatment courts up in their area. So why are these important? These treatment courts have a recidivism rate of very little. So those are repeat offenders. So generally, folks that find themselves in the legal process become repeat offenders very quickly, unfortunately. The Veterans Treatment Court folks, that number is reduced greatly.
It's the national average is somewhere between 30, 40+% in Havasu. It's through the Veterans Treatment Court. It's 5%. 5% repeat offenders. That's phenomenal. Yeah.
So if you think 34% is high recidivism rate, people outside of the treatment court, the recidivism rate is like 80 something.
Yeah.
80%, 80+% of folks would reoffend. So why is that important to us? Because obviously it makes strong, healthy communities if people are law-abiding citizens. Just from that perspective, if we want to talk just dollars and cents, it costs money. It costs money for us as a community to pay our police officers, to pay our city attorney's office and prosecutor folks, to pay for court staff, and obviously see through that process. So if we have less people in the system for a shorter period of time, it saves money overall. But at the same time, it's just the right thing to do for our citizens to make sure that we can get folks back to being law-abiding citizens within our community. So we applaud Senator McSally and her efforts for this. Certainly, we're very grateful for her that she was able to identify this need and now is going to be able to take veterans treatment courts and that coordination throughout America, which is a pretty exciting thing. Congressman Gosar is also hosting a Concerned Veterans for America Town Hall on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, November 5th. It'll be from 2 to 4 p.m. at the London Bridge Resort Convention Center. You do need to register to attend. There was a little note in the newspaper today that if you wanted to attend, you were going to have to make reservations. So if you want to make reservations, you can do that at, it's kind of an awkward web address, so I'll say it a couple of times. It's CVANOV5, kind of weird, .eventbrite.com. So CVA for Concerned Veterans of America, NOV5 for November 5th, .eventbrite, eventbrite.com, and you can register to attend that town hall and be part of that. There'll be folks from Concerned Veterans of America that will be able to address any concerns that citizens have, and Congressman Gosar will be there as well. So I saw that Senator Borelli and Representative Biasucci came to the facility. Are you ready to stand close to Jess and I and
we just came for coffee.
Oh, I know better than that.
It's not free.
Yeah. We don't have a microphone, but I know you want to say a few words, so thank you for being here.
Well, I was out in the parking lot, and whoever lost a rubber band, a bunch of 20s wrapped in a rubber band, Cal found your rubber band.
Oh, dirty. Yeah.
I was at the. It's great to be back home, away from this state of Maricopa, which I call the occupied territory. But I was there this week, and of course we're back. We're a part-time legislature, which means we're in there January to about May, and.
Just for the camera.
Right, we're on camera.
Anyway, January to May we're in session, but we're back and forth to Phoenix 2 or 3 times a month because this is really not a part-time job. And if you treat it like a part-time job, we're not doing our job. So was at a couple committee hearings this week for myself, and of course a little budget meeting with the President of the Senate, trying to get things ready for next session because we plan on having a shorter session and changing a little bit of strategy how we're going to get the process done on the budget, because that always becomes a big fight. It drags out forever. But I just want to let you know, Representative Leo Biasucci has been our Rookie of the Year. It's about teamwork and building coalitions and relationships is how we get things accomplished. Our other seatmate, which we call our teammate, is Regina Cobb. She lives up in Kingman. She's the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. I'm of course on the majority whip in the Senate. So that type of leadership and coalitions that we got together, as we've had one heck of a session this last one. We have the most rural-friendly budget ever passed, I think, ever in the history of Arizona. You have to remember, years and years ago, before we were District 5, we were District 3. Before that, we were District 1, which meant our representation came out of Prescott. So we finally have a solid team here to represent all of us out here in Phoenix. So anyway, Leo.
Yeah, thank you everybody for letting me speak. Thank you, Cal. Just real quick, I'll touch on Senator Borelli. He mentioned about the most rural-friendly budget. I'm sure they talked about it in the paper a little bit, but we were able to get tax conformity done. So we lowered everybody's income taxes across the board this year, which you'll see that next year, which is fantastic. We paid off state debt. There was a we're paying 24 million in just interest alone. From 2008, when the Capitol, when we were in the recession, they sold all the buildings at the Capitol, then we started renting them out, which is sounds kind of silly. So this year we were able to buy that back, so which is phenomenal. We're paying that off. We're not paying interest anymore. We put $1 billion in our savings account for a rainy day fund for the state, which is what it's all about. It's about being fiscally responsible, and this is something that Senator Borelli and I have always pushed for, making sure we spend money the right way. With the tax conformity, like I said, we had the $150 million of excess money, and it was a battle whether half of the legislature wanted to spend that money. Luckily for us, we were the majority, and we said no, the money belongs back to the people, because that's your money. I mean, right? The tax dollars are your hard-earned money. It belongs to you, not to the state to spend. You know what to do with it better than we do. And so those are some phenomenal things. This year, we're going to be fighting for Highway 95 to get repaved, the whole entire thing. I mean, this is something that we really, it hasn't been done in 20 years, probably.
20 years.
Correctly. I mean, it's been fixed here and there, sealed, but a really redone has not been done before. So luckily, with Senator Borelli, he's our senator, he's the whip. We have Regina Cobb as our appropriations chair. I'm just a little freshman, so I don't really have much to say. But we're talking about, look, we need to get this done. This is something that needs to be done for rural Arizona. Like Senator Borelli said, it's always us fighting Maricopa County and the legislators from Phoenix, and they kind of say, look, you guys don't need the money as much as we do, and we're here to say, you know what, yes, we do. We're growing just as much as everybody else, and it's about time they stop building, highways and 303s and 404s and 505s and every other loop that they're trying to build out there. So we're going to be fighting for that hard, as well as our water. They keep trying to take our water, and same thing, Phoenix feels that they need it more than we do. We fought this year. The Harquahela, it's a huge aqueduct in La Paz. It's about the size of 3 Lake Meads underground. They came up and said, we're going to take that water from you guys. We need it. And Senator Borelli, myself, Gina, we stuck as a team. We said, you're not touching that water. And if you do, we're not going to be on the budget. And they backed off. But it's always a battle for us. So we're fighting back more than anything, more than passing bills. And so that's something that we'll continue to do this year and make sure that our growth is priority for Mojave County and La Paz County in our district. So other than that, everything else, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, just one short thing. They always say that Republicans don't have heart. Well, if you're pumping blood, that means you have a heart. So I just came from the VA, got a blood test. So I'm pumping blood, so we definitely have a heart. So
Thank you, Senator Borelli and Representative Havasu. Yeah, it's great to have these relationships that we have from the city level with our state leaders and Representative Cobb. In addition, the appropriations chair means that they have access to the checkbook. The whip means they have access to the votes, and so we're really represented well. So thank you so much for all of your work. Thank you. So, all right, I think we're moving on to the portion of the morning that.
We do one last call?
Yes, we have one last call. Anyone that's going on the Imagine a Day Without Water tour, Brianna Morgan is ready to take you. All right, thank you. All right, do you have anything else before we open it up?
No, we can open it up.
All right. Yes.
Stand down.
Stand down. Yes. Do you want to? I'm familiar with it, but you probably would be better if you want to come up and jump on the mic with me and give the details. We do for the people watching at home. Yes, this is televised and re-recorded. So
Our mouths would be moving on TV with no sound if we didn't have the mics on.
And this is more for the people on TV also. November 16th is going to be the Lake Havasu City Stand Down. The Veteran Treatment Court is putting it on. This is one of the things that we do. All veterans, please come. There will be resources for all veterans. If you know of a veteran in need or a homeless veteran, please bring them. We will be there'll be haircuts for them, there'll be food, there'll be clothes and gear and everything for the homeless veterans. We will have multiple organizations there, so it's not just for the homeless vets, it's for all veterans. Please come. We also will have my coworker, he's bringing his military display. He has uniforms from World War I all the way up to current. He has a uniform from a man that died at Iwo Jima, so he has a lot of really unique and interesting stuff, so please come see it. But all veterans, please come. If you know any veterans, let them know. And like I said, if you come across a homeless veteran or a veteran that is in need, please have them come. Now, I'm out of the cards because I've been giving them all out, but there is a phone number. Does anybody have one of the flyers on them? Can I see it real quick? There's a number on the flyer that you can give to the homeless veteran or the veteran in need, and they will come and pick them up and bring them to. And the phone number is 928-230-0392. If you call that number, they will, with the Veteran Treatment Corps, will come and get you and bring you to the veteran stand-up. So, thank you.
Where's the location?
Oh, yeah, that would probably help. Yes, it is at the Aquatic Center, the Relics and Rods Auditorium. So, yeah, I can put it right there.
Question. Kingman's giving dental work for the vets on November the 11th. Is there one in here in?
Not that I know of, but I do know of that one. I actually have the email, so.
Yeah, for those at home, the
Yeah.
question was something about dental services for veterans, and we're looking up some information to see what the answer to that question might be.
Okay. It's between 10 and 2.
November 16th,
Yeah.
Saturday,
November
November
16th
16th.
between 10 and 2.
You got to call before you
Yes.
make an appointment.
So therefore, it's Serbet Dental Group in Kingman on November 11th. They will be giving free x-rays, cleanings, and exams. And it's to make an appointment, call 928-716-3001. And that is to get the, to set up if you're a veteran and you need a free dental cleaning. They have them in Kingman on Veterans Day.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, yes.
Could you give us an update on the zoning changes that are allowing more usage at the shops?
Yes. So the question is an update on what's happening out at the shops at Lake Havasu, sometimes referred to as the mall, and the zoning updates as that relates to that. So we, as many of you know, the mall was purchased by local folks, which the mall proper, I should say. So there's 4 owners out at the mall of different parcels and different sections. The mall proper, which basically is the interior section of the mall, including near the movie theater. Most of the vacant space is the mall proper, and that was purchased by a local person that's really looking to change that whole facility out there to being an employment complex, an entertainment complex, and a retail complex. So combining the 3 different uses out there will draw traffic and then allow them to be able to recruit different stores and businesses out in that area. So the first rezoning change that happened was to allow the omni-channel retail model. So the omni-channel retail sounds really, really fancy, but it's just allowing what already happens in retail today. So today we go on our smartphones, tablets, or computers. We order something from a traditional large retailer. Let's call it a pair of black pants in a certain size. We say order, and we put in our payment information, and the next day or 2 or 3 days, depending on how spendy we want to be on shipping, we'll get our product here at our homes. But that actually is going through the logistics centers of these e-commerce sites. It actually gets sent to where the inventory might be. So although I'm sitting at my home here in Lake Havasu City placing that order, those pair of pants might be at the store located in Las Vegas. And a clerk goes to the rack, grabs those pants, throws them into a shipping bag, and they arrive to my house. That's happening today already. So there's people that go to these large websites, they purchase things, and people here in Lake Havasu City go out to the rack, throw it into a shipping bag, and it gets shipped out. However, that wasn't really allowed by the zoning. So we're now allowing that. That's called omni-channel retailing, where you basically meet the shopper where they're at. So either we meet the shopper on an online phone. One example there is like the shopping list, the click list, I think it's called, where you basically purchase your groceries first on a phone, but yet you still go to the brick and mortar to pick it up. And so you wait in a stall and they bring your groceries out to you. Or you purchase your items and you go to potentially Walmart, and there's a locker there with your goods that you've already purchased in that locker, and you grab it out. That's again omni-channel retailing. That's the first zoning change, and we have a local company that was looking to expand, My Pampered Home, which is one of top Amazon 40 retailer, which is a big deal. So top 40 in Amazon, which is huge, and they do home good products, and that's right out of Lake Havasu City today. They employ or will be employing over 50 folks after they make their move out to the mall, and basically they'll take about 40,000 square feet, which is the area that, let's go to the center courtyard area by the movie theater, head down towards Dillard's, and as you head down towards Dillard's, the left-hand side, that whole section is 40,000 square feet. They're taking that, and what we will see as general retail consumer or customers would be a space that's about roughly 1,000 square feet that we can go in, browse, and look at different goods that they have. I equate it to the old days of the Sears catalog stores, where you would go into a little cubby and you would have these magazines, well, these big catalogs on this thing, and you would pick through it. That's kind of how I equate it to, but you can actually touch and feel these products. They might also look at a model of each month featuring a different manufacturer or different lineup, so it builds excitement and want for us to keep going back into this facility. And then behind that, they will be doing all of their distribution that they already do, bringing out an employment base. When that employment base is out there, now we have dedicated people out there every single day that now need to have a place to have lunch and go on breaks and those types of things, which now makes it a little bit easier to get eateries out there for us citizens to go out there as well. It also would then increase the need or want for retail. So as you go back to our central courtyard, the movie theater, now look towards Walmart, and those sections would then be more of the traditional retail things that we would go into and browse. That's how it's envisioned today. And so those zoning use changes that we've made allow for these uses to happen, and also still protect the integrity of that neighborhood. As far as signage and those types of things and heights. So we've done 2 zoning changes in that area, and now allow that to do that. They are moving full steam ahead to get through building and all those types of things to be able to see those areas. So thank you for the question. Any other questions? Yes?
You're talking about the Veterans Court, which I think sounds great, and you're saying that it's 5% of them reoffend. What can the city do to get our 80% reoffenders down at least a little bit by maybe using that as a model?
Yeah, excellent, great question. So treatment courts are definitely beneficial for the recidivism rate, but they also require resources and space. So once we are fully deconsolidated, which the deconsolidation has happened, but now we need the space. So once we move out of the facility we're at now, we'll have a little bit more space where we can look at some other treatment court options. Those are mental health treatment courts, drug treatment courts. Those would be the areas that would probably be first on our list here in Lake Havasu City. But when we say space, it's also, a lot of people think when you are going into the court that we're only talking about courts, which I understand why that is, but it's also the police officers, it's also the prosecutors in our city attorney's office, it's also the court clerks in the city attorney's office. We need all of those staff members to be able to do that, and we have to have the resources, and government talk, resources means money, to be able to do that, and money means what we pay as taxpayers. And so it's definitely a thing that we would need to do, but there would be some upfront cost to that. As far as some of the staff resources that we would have to put to that.
I'm sure you'd also need volunteers, but I can think of a lot of people that would probably want to volunteer if they can get the rate down and not have the repeat offenders.
Yeah, good point.
In my neighborhood, we don't see a lot of crime, but as I go through the city and I look on the internet, I see people smoking crack on the internet that live in Lake Havasu City and are posting on social media. I see all kinds of stuff around the city. It needs to be cleaned up before it gets worse.
Yeah, so volunteers are critical to treatment courts, and we would definitely need those. Dave, do you have a comment?
The situation that's helping the treatment court is that they got resources.
Resource team?
And the thing is that it took a while to get that in process. But they got a grant And that pays a lot of the stuff that has to be done. But a lot of people don't understand that the people who are involved in this, they have to do a lot of stuff to make this work. Sometimes it takes 6 to a year before they can get out of the program. But that's what makes it worthwhile for the program to work successfully.
Yeah, so our Veterans Treatment Court has a Veterans Resource Team, which is a group of volunteers and mentors and organizations that come together. We're awarded a $900,000 grant to help administer some of the court process. But it's, as Dave was mentioning, folks that are in treatment courts, the process for them to be adjudicated is much longer. So it takes more resources from staff resources, volunteer resources, and community organization resources. But it's definitely something we're looking at. But we can't do anything until we actually have physical space to do that.
And then to recognize Dave for all his work on the resource team and all the things, the efforts that he assists with that. So that you're talking about volunteers and folks that do that. There's one right there.
Any other questions? Yes.
The recent fires we've had in the last 3 of them so far, why is that? Why are we having fires?
Yeah. So the question is about the recent fires. The fires are happening, unfortunately, in land that is not Lake Havasu City land. It's all state lands, which doesn't allow us to have opportunity for protection prior to it even occurring. So proper management of lands, from my opinion, would be that you would take you would manage the lands in a way that it doesn't allow it to go up. Salt cedars is what most of this area is, and they burn fast and they burn hot. So something as simple as one cigarette ash could light that up, and like I said, it goes very, very quickly. So Lake Havasu City generally is the first responding agency, but our directive is to protect lives and property, and then just manage the fire to naturally burn out. So the source of them, we're still trying to identify. Obviously, the person that starts them doesn't stick around and be like, "Hey, it was me," but we are trying to monitor it and find out what that is, and educate the public or educate users in these areas.
Whoever owns that, don't they patrol it?
The state of Arizona does, and state lands.
It's not private land; it's state land.
Yeah, it's state land
or federal.
Yeah. So state land is, when we refer to state land, that's lands that were given at statehood and are held in trust for education funding in the state of Arizona. Their full charge is to get the highest and best return for the fund, and they without really any other care besides that directive. So they don't take the resources to manage those lands. Believe it or not, this might be very surprising. The very first fire we had to work so hard with state lands to get permission for them to allow us to clean up their land. It's believe it or not. So it's a relationship we continue to cultivate on a regular basis, and we try and bring them in as partners. But it's obviously very difficult when we don't own the land and don't have legal authorization to be on the land in the first place. Any other questions? Yes, Dave.
I just heard recently, and you know, I love to see things coming into town, as far as revenue and stuff like that. I heard recently from a friend that we were supposed to have a track for trophy trucks, or that could have been in the works for trophy trucks, where a sanctioned race was supposed to come into town once a year. And once that was developed and stuff like that, the citizens in town could use it, sign a waiver or whatnot. The other thing I heard is of a drag strip that might have been brought into town, and that I heard John Force would have actually built something here in town for that. Do you have any input on that? Or?
Sure. Yes, so we have, the question was, just to recap, is that this gentleman has heard from friends that at one point there was a drag strip that was coming into Lake Havasu City, and then maybe some off-road event trails that would happen. So the drag strip is, it's probably about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that was a real possibility. There was a group of local citizens that had gathered up monies and investors to aim to do that. The city's role in that is we entered into a lease with some property that we own out near the airport, which was identified as a nice location for that. Our interest as the city was some of the ancillary businesses that would pop up to help support that type of an enterprise, such as machine shops and fabricators and those types of things that would add onto these vehicles to make them faster, brighter, shinier, more fun, whatever that might be. But it would be really boutique type businesses that would provide nice economic rewards in that area. And so the folks really worked hard to raise monies for that, and unfortunately they were unsuccessful in raising those monies, and the lease that we entered into them expired. And so that's no longer, but if there's private development that's interested in doing that, and we have citizens that are about that, we're in. So we are at the service of our citizens of our community, and that's what we do. And so that's the drag strip. When it comes to off-road races and those types of things, the city's role is very limited because our city limits doesn't have off-road trails. But we do have partners with federal lands and state lands that we work with when those types of events happen. Probably the most noticeable in Lake Havasu City would be the Lake Havasu Area Chamber of Commerce's Desert Bash in December, which traverses over a variety of lands, private lands, public lands, and federal lands, and we help coordinate that. The Go Lake Havasu, which is the tourism arm of Lake Havasu City, would help coordinate any special event opportunities with an event promoter or producer, and that would really be the extent of our relationship in that area. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to kind of a broader picture too is that the city is not in the business of building these types of facilities or racetracks, whatever else too. We need a partner in the private sector that's willing to come with the wherewithal, spend the resources, talk to the residents to make sure that's something that we want to see in our community, and then the city identifies a path for them to go down and gets out of the way and lets them accomplish the good of a racetrack or facility, those types of things. So it's up to the private sector to bring those projects to the city is what I'm getting at.
Right, was there any, did that upset any citizens, as far as I heard too, the noise that it would have brought, with the drag strip?
Yeah, as far as noise, yes.
Jason?
I may be able to help with this. So hi, everybody.
Jason, if you could make your way up here for us.
Jason West with the local BLM office.
He's one of our partners that manages much of the federal land around us.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for letting me stand up. Hi, everybody. I take care of the local BLM office. It's 1.3 million acres that surrounds this local community. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the partnership and the communication that the city's had with the BLM office here. It's outstanding. Whenever there's something going on, we're right in each other's offices working together. Specific to your question, we've had several feelers put out for the standard wash area for off-road racetracks, from everything from quads, UTVs, and dirt bikes to full-on trophy trucks. There hasn't been anybody that's come forward with a solid plan yet that really wants to move it. It's just been feelers. So that is something that we're open to. It's in our resource management plan to allow in the standard wash area. And so I believe Mad Media has put some feelers out, as well as other organizations. What we do have in this area right now are several companies that have gotten permits through the BLM for tours. So we do have off-road tours with Jeeps and UTVs that are going in that area right now, but we don't have a race-sanctioned event that's approached us with, we'd like to do it on this date, here's what our operating plan is. We do know how to handle that, and we can do it very quickly. One of the top priorities for the state of Arizona Bureau of Land Management that's come down from this administration is access for the public. So that's one of the things that our office will be working on heavily this year, off-road access, more access wherever we can partner with to get people on the water better for our community, and getting people hunting, fishing, and off-road recreation access in our area. So if there's things that you want to see or ideas that you have, please stop by our offices right by all that terrible Kiowa. Big lots, and we'll bring you in and let you know what we're doing, and we're happy to have your input as well. Everything that we do, I've been sending out to our elected officials as well. We have a bi-weekly NEPA meeting, a National Environmental Policy Action. If there's an action that takes place on federal lands, they're your lands, and I don't say BLM lands. You'll never hear me say that because BLM doesn't own anything. It's yours. They're public lands managed by the BLM. Anything that we do, you have input in. And so we run it through a process. The city's very active in commenting on things that we do in your behalf, and then your voice is heard as well before we make decisions on your lands for management. Happy to be part of the community, and just want to take the opportunity to say thank you for continuing to work on things that benefit my family. I love living here. The parks continue to expand. We had a safe opportunity to trick or treat with my 9-year-old daughter last night. Got to go to car shows, boating events in the area. Now I'm buying a sailboat for the lake. So
nice. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Jason. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, you were asked a few months ago, I think it was at one of the coffees with the mayor at the golf course, about attracting more and better quality doctors back into the area because they're fleeing here left and right. Have you done any research into why we can't keep doctors of any quality here?
Yeah, so the question is about what we're doing for physician recruitment and opportunities for healthcare within our community, which is a big challenge for communities across the nation. Specifically to Lake Havasu City, we were born one day, and it wasn't that long ago. And that first generation of docs are retiring at a rapid pace, and so we're losing doctors at a higher rate than other communities because of the unique situation of our young community recruiting the initial pioneer doctors, let's call them, are now of the age of retirement and are retiring. From a city's perspective, what we're doing is a lot of what Jason just mentioned. We're making sure like Havasu City is a great place to want to live, raise your family, be connected to the community, have a sense of community, so that when doctors are being recruited, that they will choose Lake Havasu City over other destinations. There's obviously been some changes in healthcare and healthcare law as it relates to Medicare and insurance and all of those types of things that have made the profession people thinking twice of entering in the profession as it goes. We also have a very large group of folks that are retiring at a rapid pace with the baby boomer generation that we have and we don't have the boomers didn't have enough kids. And so we don't have anyone coming behind them going to med school to come in. So these are all the factors. And what Lake Havasu City has done and continues to do is we identified all of those in our Vision 2020 Economic Revitalization Plan, where we went through and identified how are we going to be the Lake Havasu City of tomorrow if we're not addressing those types of issues. And so we have our 5 pillars of change that we identified to be able to really solve the overarching issue, which is demographic starvation, which means that our population is at a higher average age than the state of Arizona on average, and also as of the U.S. So Lake Havasu City is in the 53, or was in the 53 years average age range when we started. We're now at 52.7, so we've accomplished some things. Hey, come on, it's only been 3 years, so we've accomplished some things. And the state of Arizona is 39 years old, is the average age of Arizona citizen. And in in the United States, it's 37 years old. So you can see we have some area to close the gap. But we work with the local medical community regularly. We meet with the CEO of the hospital, and we talk about some of the specialties that are necessary for our citizens that we hear in forums like this. But our medical facilities it's private business, and so we encourage and push and offer resources. Through my office, we send letters in support of J1 visas to bring doctors here. We do everything that we can to help and assist the private sector in expanding medical opportunities that are available in our community.
I notice there's a lot of young doctors now that are moving in. I've seen about 3 or 4 that have come in here and set up practices. But I recently had an experience with our local hospital, and when I went to look for a specialist, and I started calling all the specialists that were listed here in Lake Havasu, and I noticed they all closed their offices. and they've moved. They're all in Vegas, they all in Phoenix, they've all moved to other areas. So I had to contact them, and when I contacted them, I asked their office personnel why they weren't here, why they moved. Is there not enough business in Lake Havasu? And they said that wasn't the problem. The problem was that they liked helping their patients, but here in Lake Havasu, they couldn't work with our local hospital. Our local hospital is a for-profit and not for-care operation. They felt working here was not doing their patients any good. They've set up satellite offices in Bullhead, Kingman, and other places, and I'm having to travel to those locations to get the care that I need. That's what's killing this town. I've had 3 people that I wanted to move to this town. Once they did research, looked up the references on our hospital, they bought in Prescott, Phoenix, and elsewhere. That's not going to help this town in the long run. If these people are spending $300,000, $400,000 on property elsewhere, that they have wanted to move here all their life. Now that they're retired, they have medical issues. They're not going to move here. They're going to move where hospitals have good quality doctors. This is going to be a disaster to us 10 years down the road. If we can't solve this problem, it's going to kill us. Because I'm looking around here, quite a few of us got gray hair. Thank God I haven't had to color mine yet, but it's getting there with me worrying about my health. I was in that hospital with a pulmonary issue. They had a pulmonary doctor on staff. They wouldn't even bring that pulmonary doctor down to see me. They told me to make an appointment with them, and as soon as I told them I wouldn't spend $10,000 on going into another CAT scan because I didn't need more radiation in my body for an unnecessary CAT scan, they walked me out the door. Said, bye, see you later. It's a for-profit, not for care hospital. Something needs to be done.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your remarks, and we work as best as we can. You know, it's
anybody else here who has had an issue with them, I have a card here for the Medical Board of Examiners for Arizona where you can write to them.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments, and I will share them with the group, and we'll continue to work hard towards it. Just like I can't tell another private sector business how to operate and what to do, I can't do that in the medical side either, but I do understand how important it is to have specialized care specialists in our community, and we'll continue to work to help attract them and do what we can from the city's perspective. Again, I appreciate your comments, and I'll continue to fight the good fight, but it's...
One more comment. If it was another business and it had improper signage outside in the front of it, you'd give them a 30-day warning to clean up their act, or you'd cite them and take their license away. If it was another business and they were doing business improperly, you'd give them a notice, 30 days to clean up their act.
No, we
no,
don't.
that does not. No, that doesn't happen that way.
No,
doesn't happen that way.
Does not happen that way.
Well, my town I came from, it used to that way.
Isn't this your town?
Yeah,
this is your town.
This is my town now, you know, and I'm sorry I didn't investigate. Since 1986, I wanted to move here. I'm selling my house in 5 years when my better half can retire, and I am leaving.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry to hear that. We'll take this offline. The folks at home can't hear us, and so it's a long conversation outside of our jurisdiction, so we'll take this offline and continue this after the coffee. Dave, did you have a comment?
Senator, I have a question for you. Well, you can sit down.
Yeah, just jump on the mic real quick. Yeah.
What town hall meeting you have on the 5th? That's right. With Grocer. Will we have a chance to talk to both situations for the veterans?
Yes,
will we have a chance to do that?
Absolutely. That's what it's here for.
Because I have some questions about that, and I want to make sure that we are heard on that one.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm generally available every time I'm in town when you see me.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
My office is usually on a corner or wherever we're walking.
Okay.
All right, we have just a couple more minutes before we'll end up. Yes?
What's the city doing to incentivize developments of like apartments, little work income, stuff like that?
Yeah, great question. So the question is, what is the city doing for workforce housing? Again, the city doesn't build, but we certainly are working actively with the Mojave County Housing Authority. We're working with developers, banks in our community, anyone that says anything about affordable housing or workforce housing or entry housing, we meet with. And so we're working on a variety of different fronts with folks that are in that business and helping to identify lands that might be available. We're actually working with the school district because it's a big issue for the school district attracting and retaining teachers. They have lands that are available that potentially we could use to build these types of homes. And so we're working very actively on that front. I don't have any good report yet because right now it's all conversations of all sorts. There's one conversation that, sorry, I'm just giving my fast facts before I lose it. There's one group right now that's working with looking at what housing sites might look like for our citizens that have developmental disabilities within our community, and how we can create a facility where other folks can mainstream into that same area with rent reductions for engagement with citizens in those types of neighborhoods. So there's a variety of things that we're doing. Just nothing is shovel ready or at a point that we have some sort of a development in the plans. But if you know of anything, let me know. And it's definitely a top priority for us.
Is there anything that the city needs from the community to help push that?
We need willing partners. Willing partners that are in this business, and that's what they do. And then we can help, as far as streamlining the permitting process and some of those types of things, so that we can just get it built and get our citizens in these living situations.
And maybe to build on that a little bit too, we've had lots of meetings with the investment side, with the construction side, trying to play matchmaker, facilitator to make some of these projects happen. If there's anybody in this room, if there's anybody watching this on TV that is interested in doing a project with regards to workforce housing and high density housing that could assist with the nurses, teachers, and others in the community, we welcome conversations. Contact my office, contact the mayor's office, and we want to hear from you, and we want to do what we can to make that happen. And part of that is just putting the right people in touch with the right people, and things will take off from there. So, very, very important issue for Havasu. I like to talk about the example with we introduced 40 new teachers to Lake Havasu this last session through the school district. Those teachers are making on average about $36,000 per year. Where on earth in Lake Havasu City are you going to live on $36,000 per year? So we're trying to address that need directly, and if anybody's interested in being part of that process, that's got the wherewithal or wants to be part of a development or construction project or investment in that regard, we want to hear from you.
All right, so with that, we're actually out of time, so we'll be, yes.
Yeah.
You're talking about the handicap, right? Now industrial has 7 units that they're building on
Yeah.
industrial.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first I've seen that. I was talking to the contractor who's doing that, and it was interesting that they're going to have 7 units for the handicap. So that's a good point there.
Yeah, no, we're working in all areas for housing. I mean, it's very important, and it's critical for our community. So we'll be here afterwards to answer any questions, but we are running out of time. I would like to take just a moment real quick and thank Bill behind the camera and his wife Marilyn, who's not here, but they are amazing. We've talked about volunteers multiple times this morning, and that's what makes great communities. Bill and his wife have volunteered and do this every single month, and countless other things on their own time to make sure that we can engage with our citizens. So thank you to Bill and his wife. Also, Steve Blakely in the back on the other camera. He's with our city staff. Thank you for all you do to coordinate this. And then, of course, Jerry Brachmani, our assistant, she makes sure we all know where we're at and where we're going to be, and she makes it happen. So thank you so much for everything that you do. Yeah. And she's also running Facebook Live at the same time. So
Does she tell you where to go?
She tells me where to go, among other people too. So, all right, so let's talk. We always like to end Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager with some fun facts about the facility or about the community. So, a couple of things. The Island Jogging Path was constructed in the mid-1980s, and it's approximately 3.7 miles. So if you don't use it, that's the loop around the island, the multi-use path. It's one of the most popular recreation areas here in Lake Havasu City. The Grand Island Shortcut makes the loop only 2.4 miles. I don't know why we're encouraging shortcuts, but I guess there's a shortcut if you want. The Island Ball Field, which is the football field right in that area, was constructed by Pop Warner volunteers in the mid-1990s. The softball field has been here longer. Both are on the wastewater property, originally utilized for the effluent disposal. So the gray waters, that's where we would dispose of it prior to what we do now. The Island Treatment Plant is the oldest in Lake Havasu City's 3 treatment plants. Effluent has been used since the 1960s to water here. The transit building, this is the Public Works Maintenance Facility where we're at today, which if you want a tour afterwards, Mark Clark is here, and we'll take you on a tour of the different areas around here. But the transit building was constructed as part of the shovel-ready transit grants for recovery from the recession projects. No city funding was required. This facility was constructed in 1998 and a move-in on January 1st of 1999. I've been here 20 years. It was constructed in 3 phases, and it used to house the Lake Havasu Unified School District facilities and buses until they built a facility up at their location. This site is a total of 12 acres that we're standing on today, and there are 2 of our water wells happen to be on this site. And this facility includes our maintenance shop, water, stormwater, water conservation, streets, transit engineering, sign and striping shop, facilities, the Metropolitan Planning Organization offices, and approximately 100 people work at this facility. So those are our fun facts from this facility. Thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to serve you and for being here today and engaging with us. We will see you next month on December 6th at the Lake Havasu City Municipal Court, which is on College Drive. So thank you all. And Veterans Day Parade on November 11th. Veterans Day, we'll be having a parade down McCauley. Have a great day. Thank you.